Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You got DanK, your host, and our friend Peke is down from Salem, and
Mercy Center.
Mercy Center is up in Salem, and I appreciate you making the trip. And that got a couple of things to talk about. First of all, I want a quick announcement here about the. Then I just had it. Oh, there it is. Thanks for taking your time to watch Eugene Cannabis TV. It's a labor of love for us to produce the show, and it's not only a labor of love for the plant, cannabis, but a labor of love to be able to communicate to others about this incredible plant. And Peke is doing the same thing up in Salem, and Mercy Center TV. And tell us a little bit about that.
So I started the Mercy Center TV after doing several shows down here with the Perry and Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
Found the community station and got to bring the VCR tapes. That's how long ago this was.
Oh yeah.
To the library to have them shown.
Mm-hmm.
Got Perry and I to go through their program, and I get to take a camera to some of these hearings that I film to show the people the ridiculous things they're doing to the medical cannabis patients.
Mm-hmm.
We have a talk show every Friday night at 7 o'clock, and that's 503-588-6444, 7 to 7:30. We ask people to call about their opinion on cannabis and the benefits or maybe the harms of it, but that's very few.
Very true. It's true. I've often offered to give people a air to let them talk about anything they have that's against it. But yeah, like you said, very rarely we hear anybody coming up against it type of thing. That's for sure. And yeah, the Mercy Center's Mercy Center TV. That's out of Mercy TV is actually what you call it. But yeah, check it out. It's up in Salem, and
23 is its channel number. 23.
Oh, 23. Yeah. 23 on cable up in Salem. And also, I wanted to talk about the Northwest Cannabis Club again. Went up there a while back and became a member. Blue Whale and I went up, and that was a really neat experience. Great people. And go to their website. It's the northwestcannabismarket.com is their website. And check it out. It's cool. They got all kinds of events going on. The Sunday after I was there, they were going to have an ice cream social with medicated ice cream and toppings.
That'd be tasty.
Yeah, and they have art. Oh yeah, they call it what do they call it? Paint and Puff. That's right. They have a thing every month called Paint and Puff, where you can come in and learn. And there's artists there to help you paint however medium you want to work in. And you're able to indulge in your cannabis while you're there. It's an old bar with a long wooden, literally bar, and they have a communal bowl there. They ask you if you can to donate some herb, and if you bring your pipe up, and the budmaster will load your pipe, and it's just great. You know, a great bunch of people.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
It is, yes, it is, and they've been doing it for 2 years, and the membership is a secret. You can't just open a club and then invite people to come in. You know, you have to be a member, and then that's how the Eugene Pot Club. And that's where we've done events, and that's where we've been going. That way, you just get away from a lot of legal hassles. You know. So anyway, that's the Northwest Cannabis Club. It's at 1195 Southeast Powell. And I recommend you highly check it out and tell them that DanK sent you. I told them, I said, hey, if you got some people coming in here saying that DanK sent you, sent them, you know who I am, what happened. That was me, you know. So I'm hoping some people will go up there and say hi. But it's kind of hard to find. Well, it's not so hard to find. It's kind of hard to get to. It's on a real busy street, not much in parking, but well worth the effort. So anyway, yeah, the black. This is Registered Guard Editorial. This came up. I ended up putting this ahead of everything that material I've come across for the show. This is an editorial that came out in the Eugene Register Guard September 18th, called "Black Market Marijuana," with a subtitle, "Oregon Needs to End Its Role as Top Exporter." It says, all states delight in celebrating achievements and attributes that can be described by superlatives. The longest coastline, the deepest canyon, even the biggest ball of twine. But being known as the largest black market source of anything is not a good label to have, and that's the position Oregon finds itself in. A preliminary report released earlier this day by Oregon State Police found that Oregon has the dubious title of being one of the largest, if not the largest, suppliers in the United States of black market marijuana to states where it is not illegal. Oregon-grown cannabis is trafficked to distribution hubs across the southwestern, midwestern, and northeastern United States, OSP said, with Illinois, Minnesota, New York, and Florida being prime targets. Based on publicly available data on grow and consumption rates, OSP calculates that Oregonians consume 186,100 to 3,072,600 pounds of cannabis annually. That leaves somewhere between 265,200 and 1.8 million pounds to find a market elsewhere. Some of this massive surplus is due to what OSP says are pervasive illegal grows that have sprung up within the state, many of which don't follow environmental regulations, don't pay taxes, and create headaches for law enforcement. Lane is one of the counties that leads the way on illegally exporting marijuana to other states, ranking 4th on the Oregon State Police's list, behind Jackson, Multnomah, and Josephine. These 4 counties collectively and illegally exported an estimated $13.4 million to $19.2 million wholesale prices of marijuana in a 10-year period. Portland, Eugene, Medford, and Grants Pass are the most connected to those destinations in other states. This growing black market is not good for a lot of reasons. By operating outside the law, it is undermining growers who are operating legally, including following sound environmental practices and paying their taxes. It is robbing the state, the Oregon taxpayers, of tax money and making it more difficult to regulate the market and protect against criminal incursions into the marijuana trade. Beyond all that, it brands Oregon as a scofflaw, a center of illegal activity that is unable or unwilling to deal with, and the source of problems for other states that are the recipients of the black market marijuana. Until Oregon gets this program under control, black market marijuana will continue to be used as a club against the state by people such as U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and as an excuse to dismiss complaints or requests from the state on this and potentially other topics. Oregon needs to get a handle on the extent of the illegal cannabis activity, including who is involved in it, where, and in what way. It needs to step up enforcement against illegal activity and maintain data so that it can gauge how effective different efforts to control it are and where resources need to be concentrated. Oregonians voted in 2014 to allow legal cultivation, sale, and use of marijuana within the state. They did not vote to make Oregon a national center for black market marijuana. So that's the editorial, and first of all, I've been to many hearings in Salem regarding cannabis issues. and I know Peke has been to many more than I have, and the Oregon State Police, as a common practice, come in and give false testimony. They lie after lie after lie in their presentations, and the legislature just is led around by the nose by the law enforcement, and they're not telling the truth.
Yes.
Remember those?
Yeah.
One of my prime examples of that was they showed it. They had a PowerPoint talking about all the problems with marijuana and all the bad things about it. And they showed two narcotics officers standing in front of a plant that was towering over them. And that was a picture to show of the abuse of marijuana. Look at the abuse. Look how big that plant is.
Yeah,
The thing
that variety grows that big.
True, and they failed to mention the fact that that was illegal. That was Bowman's. That was Bowman. It turned out that was can't think of his name in a minute, but anyway, that was his grow, and it was a legal marijuana grow, and yet they were saying that it was an abuse of the system. So that's just a little example. So anyway, the Oregon State Police lie, and that's just anybody that works on this legislative stuff and been to hearings just knows that. So anyway, I got some great comments that come in on this. Douglas Card wrote, the growth of social adaptation to legal marijuana is as complicated as the question of alcohol, though being compressed over a far shorter time period. In the 1980s, there were virtually no laws regulating the sale of alcohol other than paying for a city license. Eugene's newspapers frequently complained of the number of saloons and drunks to be found downtown. Finally, in 1920, Americans were fed up with the problems of alcohol and passed prohibition. But that didn't stop drinking, which led to speakeasies, bootleggers, backwoods revenuers, and eventually violent gangs. Finally, in 1933, Americans became fed up with prohibition. But then followed a more gradual reintroduction into stricter laws. We had local option to preserve choice. When I was a young American, still didn't have liquor by the drink, which meant you carried an LLC card in your own bottle. I imagine as the world of legal marijuana evolves, we'll develop similar problems and solutions along the way. Again, somebody, Eldo, wrote in, currently licensed grow operations are geared to grow 5 times the current legal market, and there are more pending grow licenses than there are active grow licenses. Pending, yeah, anyway, than there are grow licenses. So if you are going to produce 10 times or more product than there is a market for today, where do you really suppose the 900% or more surplus will end up being marketed? The state of Oregon is no more than a very inclusive canard based on vote buying to sustain the government. Other overemployed at the state level, for instance, Oregon's Justice Department, the Oregon Attorney General's office, has more attorneys than Washington State by more than double, and Washington has more than double our population. So we have at least 4 state attorneys for every state attorney employed by the state of Washington as per 1,000 population basis. So anyway, we'll get into, I'll continue this on the second half. We're coming up to a break, but we've got some more points that are coming up, really good points. And so stay tuned because
this is good information to
exactly. It's exactly so. It's exactly. And so bear with us, and we'll bring it to you. And I've got some comments that came off of Facebook too over the same article. So people have made some really good points here. So we'll be right back, and we'll be right here. So. Welcome to the second half of the Eugene Cannabis TV, episode 656. We took some time off there because it was just too darn hot in the studio. But we're back now, and we've got our friend Peke, who came down from Salem, the Mercy Centers, Mercy TV, and works with the Mercy Centers help group, I mean advocacy anyway, for medical marijuana patients and such.
Yes. So if you were a patient grower, you recently got a letter from the state. They asked you, well, are you going to stay with the OMMP program, or are you going to go with the LLC program? Oh, and we want to raise the grower fees up to $450. So in the past couple of years, first they started asking $50 for a grow fee. And that's for a patient to have a grow garden at a different residence. A lot of the patients don't have the talent or the space to grow their medical garden. And fortunately, they find a grower that would accept them in the community. Now they went from $50 to $200 a couple of years back. Now they jumped up to $450 for a grow site. This is ridiculous. I know how to count. And somebody's lining their pockets on this. So the other day, I went and seen to try to make a reservation with Jeff Rhodes, who's the assistant to the Governor Kate Brown. They give me this letter, and they ended up asking you to go to the OLCC or to the OMMP. But they tell you there's nothing that you could do because it's a law. So, explain to me, how does this make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Do you mind if I read that first paragraph?
Yes.
He says, Dear Pete, thank you for sharing your concerns about marijuana rules and regulations with the Office of Governor Kate Brown. It is important that all Americans have the opportunity to be heard and for their needs to be addressed appropriately. Yeah, right. Well, so they're sending him off to two agencies that don't have a real good track record, and Peke standing there talking to him is going to be a little bitty voice that they are not even going to be listening to, much less hearing.
And I didn't walk away with the appointment with Jeff Rose.
Yeah. Well, we knew it was going to get bad, and it's just deep pockets, and as I like to say, clueless, biased legislatures. Our fate is in their hands, and it's really showing. And so, but support OMMP, renew your card if you possibly can. If it's a question right on the borderline, do it, because we need the participation. We need the numbers. I'm getting my card for the first time, by the way. So did I tell you that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So and yeah, sign up, especially veterans. I mean, it's only cost you $20 for the card itself. I mean, that's amazing.
But the last line on this letter says, if you don't respond, you'll be taken off the program permanently.
Yeah.
And that's a threat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so despicable, but it's so typical.
If you did get that letter, fill it out, because you got to December 1st to get it returned to the agency. So this is important, like registering and voting and keeping track on our legislation and getting the people out of office that shouldn't be there.
Definitely, yes. Vote. It's so important. See, as I understand, our last national election, we had something like 23% of eligible voters voted. Is that the right? I think that's what I read.
It was a very poor turnout.
And it's so yeah. If people have got to vote, it does make a difference. And as hopeless as it seems, we're worse off. I like to say, look at the people who are voting. Look what they're doing. And today's political situation is a prime example. The people that aren't voting, look what happened by you sitting on your hands. So there's a lesson to be learned. Are you listening? Are you ready? I don't know. But anyway, let me get back to this. We're reading responses to the Registered Guards black market marijuana editorial, and I'm working on a response at home. By the way, this is a great opportunity for a letter to the editor. Bombard them, because this is part of the effort, you know. This is part of the collective thing. Like, I was just thinking as Peke was talking about starting the Mercy TV after being on the show here, and I've thought of my 20 years of activism, and I thought, you know, all the Saturdays that I spent down at Saturday Market gathering signatures, talking to people that came up, and registering voters, and it always seemed like it was just such a hopeless thing, but I just kept plugging away, you know. Well, look what happened. Measure 91 passed, and it's legal. Well, it's kind of legal.
Well, they lied to us. They said...
True. That's true.
Again.
But the thing is, we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for just little efforts by a lot of people. I don't mean little efforts, but I mean efforts from a lot of little people, I guess, and like Peke and like myself. And so we're just out there plugging away and what we can do. And just think if people would register to vote and participate, how much better it could be. That's the whole point, you know. So anyway, Rancher responded, and I believe that this is John Sajo. I don't know for, I can't say for a fact, but anyway, I think this is John Sajo talking. He says, Oregon has exported marijuana for decades. We should be proud of our farmers that they. Let me start over again. We should be proud of our farmers that sell their crop to other states. The problem is not with Oregon; it is with the federal law that continues to prohibit the most useful plant on earth. Oregon legislatures understood this a few years ago when they passed a joint resolution calling on the U.S. Congress to deschedule marijuana. Unfortunately, the state must navigate the tricky waters of trying to regulate at the state level with the feds continuing prohibition. While we wait for Trump and Congress to do the right thing, we should be happy for the extra billion in revenue these exports bring into our economy. Cheryl Smith, this is a lady that's she's an attorney, very good people. She wrote, dredging up an old report that even the governor debunked. Ho hum. That's a great comment from Cheryl. Peter Gendron, Pete K and I were just talking about Peter Gendron, great guy. He commented, he said, so much wrong with the article, I don't know where to start. Jan Olson seems like if it was federally legal, Oregon would be a primary producer, so at least we have to look forward to. Phil Philbin, he writes, see, why? Somebody has to supply those stupid prohibition states.
Yes.
So that's pretty good. And then another good one from Tim Fratto. He wrote, I love that the black market is thriving. They can't control the plant, and the money is not in the state's pocket, and it ticks them off. I love this. Yeah. So there's some good comments there. So anyway, that's where we're at on that. And real quick, I want to talk about Pioneer Pete Gendron again. He wrote this piece called Pete Pontifex. Oh boy.
This is in your Cannabis Connection at your local distributor.
Yes, yeah. And he wrote, Pete pontificates all grown up. I can't read the whole thing in length, we're on a time schedule, but he says, many are decrying the death of the OMMP after the passage of SB 1057, SB 56, and SB 2198 this last legislative session. And these bills did make major changes. I'd like to make a contrarian review of what is happening and talk about our cannabis programs in Oregon and how they have grown up. The OMMP celebrated its 18th birthday last November 3rd to little fanfare. That is surprising when we consider that 18 is the age of maturity in our society. I can't tell you how many times parents are delighted when their little one, all grown up, is done with school and ready to move out of the house and get a job. That's exactly what the state legislature did with the OMMP. They said, you're all grown up now. We gave you the keys to the car and got you your first job. Now it's time to be an adult. Move out and earn a living. These references are to the passage of bills prior to Measure 91, which allowed patients to grow more plants, retail sales to occur under the OMMP dispensary system, and producers to be compensated for their labor. Our baby's all grown up, a full adult by society's standards, although it can't smoke itself yet.
Or by alcohol.
And yes, good point. And ready for the responsibility to go with maturity, we hope. Not to that mention the guardians of our favorite child, OHA, treated our baby terribly, alternatively neglecting and abusing the OMMP since infancy.
No research.
Yep. When caught stealing from our offspring, the response of the OHA was, you live in our house, so we keep the money and you earn and spend it how we want. It's ours now, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's no way to raise a responsible adult, if you ask me. Many have decried Measure 91 as a death to medical marijuana, but the legislator is about to change the program whether or not the voters, the parents, chose to. Wake up, we need to make money, was the cry in the State House. My apologies to 21 Pilots for that last one. I'm the parent of teenagers and young adults too. So the newly 18 and wage earning part of the OMMP moved into new digs. The OLCC had space, so medical sales packed up and moved out for a new, bigger job opportunity. But they didn't take everything with them, much like the bedroom that your college-bound kiddos never really empty, or the stuff left in the garage. They'll be back later, I promise, Mom. Many good parts of the OMMP remain as much as more than memories. So, it goes on a little bit more, and I won't be able to finish that, but again, that's in the Oregon Cannabis Connection. You also can find it on the website at OregonCannabisConnection.com, I think. And check it out. And that's Pete Gendron, Gendron, Gendron. Great guy, very outspoken. So, all right, Peke, thanks for coming. And we got to sign out real quick, so we're gone, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.